What kind of money was circulating in prison as far as, with the different hustles? I know in the Fed, you got guys, some guys are making a lot of money that were involved in like either drugs or gambling or, cigarettes or what have you, different hustles. I mean, what are some of the things that you saw in there where people were like making bread and actually like, sending money home to family and doing stuff like that?
I've touched everything pretty much. I've touched everything pretty much. But I was never, like a big drug dealer. I was never like a big drug dealer. But it's been spice and heroin, the K2 and heroin.
Mm.
It's the amount of money you can make. And I'm not trying to promote this, but the amount of money is crazy. Like an ID for a piece of paper the size of like your driver's license ID in prison of spice in prison, that's easily $500. It's
Damn.
easily $500. Um, so I've definitely been involved in, I sold a lot of heroin, not that much weed, pills and shit. But my hustle was porn. They so around like 2010, 2011, the ADOC, they took the legal library, like the access to law books. I still don't know how that happened or how that's legal, but they took all the law books, like the Black's Law Dictionary. They took all those out of the libraries, and they took all the porn too, right?
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me they hindered or took all your legal access?
From the libraries, yeah. And if you,
Wow. How'd they get away with that?
I don't know, I don't know. I it's
Damn.
still like that. It's still like that. Um,
That's crazy. So how do you do appeal if you want to fight it? You're looking up.
so you have to like sign up. You have to sign up, go through this process to meet with like a paralegal, right? And the paralegals that they have in the prisons are just like like dropouts basically, or like
Oh, wow.
or elderly people. So a lot of like elderly women or like dropouts. So what happens is, a lot of people end up going to, like I'm freaking the term right now, but just your legal people, your local, older cap usually who knows his shit. You have to like fucking trust him or not. You know what I mean? But that's how motherfuckers were doing their shit. And there,
Wow.
there would be a person, whoever that legal person is, he would have some sort of somebody on the streets helping him. But it was just that was it.
Wow.
That was it. Um, yeah. So around like 2010, 2011, they took the all the legal access from the libraries, and they took all the pornographic material. And believe it or not, I think the taking the porn had more of an immediate effect, on people. Um, but I found a way to like have porn brought in, and that was kind of just like my hustle for pretty much the next like 6 7 years till I got out. I had like hard drives snuck into to prison and with like porn on them, and then I would go to my job as like a teacher's aide. I go to my job and I would print out these pictures, print out these pictures in black and white, sell them out, and I was making a killing. I was making. There's people to this day. I've been out 2 years. There's people to this day that know me in prison from like, oh, you got that? You're the guy that had the porn empire. Like, yes, that was me. It was me. Me.
Ah,
I had this one
that's
set.
great.
I had this one setup where, and it was just relationships. I just started talking to this guard. I started talking to this guard about something, and we just built a rapport. And he mentioned something one day about how he was going through like the contraband, like mail type shit. And I was like, oh, like what's down there? He's like, oh, these dumb motherfuckers still trying to get, these magazines. And this is after, they took the porn. I was like, oh, so it's just down there? He's like, yeah. It's like, hey, what if I slide you this bag of Jolly Ranchers? He's like, okay, bet. And it just started, and I just never stopped. I just kept finding new ways to like bring porn in. That was my hustle. and some spice too. We definitely dealt with some spice as well. That's the
I know at the USP, the porn hustle, like you said, was a big one, and guys would rent out. They'd rent out books.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
like if you want to borrow a magazine for the night, it
yeah,
might cost you like 8 stamps or a book of stamps, half a book of stamps. You want it for the week for a book of stamps for the weekend,
yeah,
and there was guys in there who had they were so gifted. They had made cut the magazine up and they had every page numbered. You better not miss a page when he gets back. But the dude would have it where if you put your finger on a picture and you moved it around, it looked like they were doing their thing. So he
wow,
made it look like
yeah,
it was a visual effect to the paper where you rubbed it like this and the guy was moving. And I'm
yeah,
like, this dude was like he was this one dude, he had so much time on his hand. I mean, he'd been down 20 something years.
yeah,
And I mean, dude, people would rent stuff out from him. And if you wanted porn, you wanted knives, you wanted a fat burger with cheese or bacon. I mean,
yeah,
he was
yeah,
dealing in everything and he was balling. But
yeah.
yeah, man, this dude he had these magazines, bro, and he would charge big money for them, but dudes would rent those magazines and they would pay a lot of money.
Wow. See, so I was kind of involved with this kind of. Um, we took the DVD player out of the chaplain's office, and someone kind of like just rigged it up to where it would work on the TVs, and we were just hiding this fucking DVD player for like a year. It made it through every search. It made it through every
Oh,
search, and then here's how cold we were. Here's how cool we were. We got a hold of another DVD player and then smashed that one to make it seem as if that's the one they were looking for. And they believed it.
wow.
They believed it for a little bit. But yeah, we had um I got a bunch of porn in. I got a bunch of porn in, and it was money. And I was doing that for a while. But what I was doing even before I even got like peaceful, I guess, was like I said, I as a kid, my love has always been like film, has always been like movies. I started like making movies as a kid, but my thing was I would start these classes on these yards I would go to. I would start these classes. I would start film classes, and I would just say whatever needed to be said. Like I remember the first class that I got started was um I presented it under the guise of like a mental health kind of like course, and I said we should watch Taxi Driver and like Black Swan, and like I would start coming up with movies that had like sex scenes in them to like bring in, and then I would charge guys to come into the class like but
Oh
that would just
shit.
develop. It would just develop into like I would just start making like different classes. You know what I mean? Once you see that, oh, I can do this, I can do this. It's like, okay, how can I do it further? And that's just like the con mindset, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like how
Yeah.
how can I how can I get some value out of this? But that was always my hustle, was always trying to get like movies brought in, mostly because I wanted to see them. Uh,
Yeah.
Trying to get movies brought in, and I was selling porn. That's what the fuck I was doing. That's what I was doing in prison.
So, like you said, you kind of once you got through your early part of, the walls and going through all the just the really turmoil times with all the drama and and putting in work and you like said, hey, I got to change or shift in what I'm doing and the mindset so you can prepare yourself to get out. Was there anybody in there that had like a big influence on you that kind
Yeah,
of like helped guide you, somebody that left an impression on you as you started seeing like daylight?
yeah. My guy Tiptoe. Um, Tiptoe's one of the realest niggas I ever met in my life. Um, he was just an older cat. He was an older cat from a hood out in Phoenix, and a hood called Lindell Park. And I've met a bunch of cats from this hood, and like I I fuck with all of them that I met with. There's a lot of solid cats I met. Um, when I first met Tiptoe, I was probably 23, 24. Still not really ready to make the change, but he definitely helped plant some seeds. I was gonna get a tattoo on my neck, right? I forget what it was. I forget what the fuck it was. And I had the dude over there. He was already in my cubicle already. You know what I mean? And then Tip came over. And was like, bruh, like you have a date. You got an end date. Let's put some more thought behind this. And I remember being like pissed off because I had a little bit of a reputation of like fighting at this place. Not that I would fight him, but I just had a little bit of a reputation. It's like, bro, what do it's me. You know what I mean? I'm a badass type shit. You know what I mean? And um, from that moment on, I kind of just started listening to Tip. Uh, he also really helped me when I was kind of selling drugs at a good proficient way. He also helped me do that too. But he was one of the first people that, even more so than my cousin, really. He was one of those first people that really like sat down and talked to me about something that wasn't prison. You know what I mean? It's every conversation that you have in there is either like, you know, oh, this bitch did this, or this cop did this, or this. I mean, it's rarely ever about like, what's going on with your life, what's going on with your mind, you know what I mean, what's going on with that type shit. And my guy Tiptoe is one of the first people who ever really like sat me down and like talked to me about something real. And it's important because when you're in it, it's hard to see anything outside of it, you know. And for someone who always had an end date, 16 is a long time, but it's always had an end date. For someone to lose sight of the fact that you're gonna get out, that's a crazy kind of mental flip in itself. So to like be able to get back to that reality that there's life after this. Yeah, I think about Tiptoe a lot. He was one of the first people who really got me there. My guy Tiptoe, I have my guy from Hills, Brace for Days. He sat me down and like talked to me all the time about life. Um, um, there weren't really that many though. There weren't really that many. A, as time went on, I became that person. Not like I was mentoring people type shit, but I was kind of like that person because like around like my 10th year in, you know, cats that are like a couple years younger than me were calling me OG type shit. Just because I've been down for so long. I've been down for fucking ever. You know what I mean? To be at the age I was at, it was a long time. And so, cats were coming to me with like, hey, what do you think about this script idea I have? What do you think about this thing about, I want to do this when I get out? Okay, well, what are the steps that you would need to do to get there type shit? That's always been the kind of mindset I was on. But yeah, there were a couple dudes that helped me, but again, for the most part, it was you got to figure this shit out by yourself.
Yeah.
There was there was a time there was a time it was a solid year and a half. It was a solid year and a half, and my memory's a little fuzzy. It may have been a little bit longer than a year and a half, but there was a year and a half where I didn't say a word to anyone. I didn't I didn't talk to my cellies. I didn't talk to the officers. And it got to a point where they just knew like I wasn't speaking. And I was in a very dark place. I didn't speak to anyone. I didn't talk, And when I finally got to a place mentally, and it was a lot of like home shit. There was a lot of shit going on at home that was like fucking with my head. My little sisters were in a foster home, and they were going through a lot of shit, and it's just like just feeling helpless and just like this is my fault. They're in this situation because mistakes I made. And that became like a literal weight, on me. But so I stopped speaking to people for like a year and a half, and when I finally got in a position where I was feeling like comfortable, speaking again, I got in a yard where I felt like I could breathe a little bit. Um, I noticed that my speaking ability was like it didn't work as well because I didn't
Mm,
talk for a year and a half,
wow.
and I'm still kind of like dealing with that. I never like stuttered or anything before that time, and there's a lot of there have been a lot of instances, like especially now, where I think about like what's going on in my life or how I am, where it's directly related to situations in prison, directly related to, and I would have conversations with people all the time, older cats all the time about that word institutionalized. Those are the kind of conversations we were having, and I hated that word. I hated that word so much because I always thought, um, I'm too young. I'm too young. I'm too sharp. I'm too, this is not going to happen to me. You know what I mean? I can see something for myself in my life. You know what I mean? I don't have life. You know what I mean? Which is a crazy way to think of it. And I would sit and talk with guys like Tiptoe about being institutionalized and fucking um, being able to think for yourself. And you know, I can say now I definitely have been institutionalized, but I wouldn't have been able to. You can't fix something without being aware of it, and I wouldn't have been able to be aware of like a lot of things in my life then and now without sitting down and talking to just like a smart black man. You know, that's kind of what it came down to, honestly.
No, I totally understand where you're coming from with the institutionalized aspect, and that was my biggest fear was becoming institutionalized and not being able to distinguish life in prison from what life really is like in the free world. So I always fought the fact that I was in prison doing time. And what I would tell guys is I'm passing through. And guys would get mad. Oh, Big Herc, you're passing through. Yeah, I'm passing through. I said, I don't own any of this. And I would meditate like, and basically say that I don't, if they transfer me, they come in here, shake my cell down, destroy it. None of this is mine. I don't own this toilet. I'm not buffing the floors. I'm not shining the metal on the sink. I'm just visiting this place. I'm
Yeah.
passing through. And so when I got out, I tried to relate my behavior to my mind state so that I didn't feel like I was scared of the streets, but more comfortable in prison. And I've seen guys who were scared to death to leave the halfway house, or they were more comfortable with like a guard counselor situation rather than making decisions on their own. So I always like when I was in prison, I always read books about things like on the street. I would have my legal books. I would have my Wall Street Journal, my Business Weekly,
Mhm.
and or my Forbes, and then I would have my Vanity Fair, my DuPont Register, and I would always project my mind to being on the streets. Like if I was free right now, man, I'd be in this
Yeah.
drop Porsche, or I'd be
Yeah.
driving down PCH, bro, or I'd be in Miami. I'd be kicking it at this spot, man, at this house, and I would have these pictures on my vision board, and I would just look at them. And sometimes when they would shake my cell down, the guards they'd be in my cell. I'm like, what are they doing? I go look through the window. They'd be looking at the pictures on my vision board, looking at all the stuff, right? The cars. I'd have houses. I would have pictures of like some nice jewelry, whatever, different things. And that was where my mind was at. And so, as I got closer to getting home, they're like, Big Herc, what you gonna do when you get out, man? I said, man, I got plans, but I won't be back here. I was always, I said, I'm gonna do some things. I said, you gotta wait for retirement. This is your, but I'm not, this is not my life, I'm just passing through here. And a lot of dudes were like, they felt like I thought I was better than them, but it wasn't that I thought I was better than anybody. I'm just now playing your game. And
Right.
everybody wants you to play that prison game. You're in prison, you're an inmate, you're a convict, we politic, the blacks do this, we do that. And I'm like, dude, I'm not doing none of that. I'll
Right.
do the very minimum I'll have to do so that I don't disrupt my
Right.
situation for my safety. But I'm not sitting here and watching BT all day or going to and hanging out with you and walking the track and you're not, your conversation is not, it's not stimulating, it's
Right.
not elevating me. So that was my friction with a lot of the cats. And I would kick it with the white dude, and they get mad. Like, what are you talking to that white dude for? What you hanging out with that Mexican dude for? This and that. I'm like, I'm getting game. I'm
Yeah.
trying to see some opportunity. So when I get out, I can make some moves because I'm not hanging out with your dumb ass on the street.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about the streets. I'm not thinking about a prison career. So that was really big for me, man, was to divorce myself of that and really focus on who I was and what I want to do when I get out. And I had to really reflect on who I was as a person because I'm like, man, I did all this time and I didn't get not one visit. So when I'm sitting in there with no visits, I see nobody from the street, and I'm like, damn, man, and I can't be mad at these people trying to come way out here in the middle of nowhere to visit me. But then I'm thinking like, man, was I a piece of shit? Was
Yeah.
I just a dude like, nobody really wanted to really see how I'm living, and I'm seeing dudes who are dope fiends and
Fuck boy.
assholes, and
Yeah.
they're getting
Yeah.
visits.
Yeah. It fucks with your head. Yeah. 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 I
So,
you know, there was I have a homie, and I have a homie. His name's Aaron, and he has 16 as well. He got his 16 years like later. Like I think he was like 29, 28. And every time I go to his spot, go to his cell, he 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 was always never in prison, right? He was always trying to think of like what you were talking about. He was trying to think of like business plans and like I'm gonna be here. And he's from Tucson too. There's not a lot of Tucson cats at any given point on any yard out here. So we always kind of gravitate towards each other. It's always like Phoenix. There's a lot more Phoenix people, you know what I mean, or like the surrounding areas. Um, so he was always, just like had his mind somewhere else. And when you get out, uh, at least out here when people say they're gonna get out, there's always like talk like, oh, I'm gonna write the homies, I'm gonna send pictures, and we all know, at least I knew, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Um, Before I got out, my homie Aaron, he's like, hey bro, all I want is send me a picture of who Sydney Sweeney is? She's a blonde from look her up. She's an actress. She's a very pretty actress. He's like, just send me pictures of Sydney Sweeney. So bro, I got you. And so I got out, and like 2 months, like 2 3 months later, I figured out how to get on the tablets. We got tablets towards the end of my time, and I went to send him some pictures, and I couldn't send it to him. Right, I couldn't send it to him. It's like, what's going on? So I checked the site to make sure that I have his number right, and he fucking hung himself. He
oh
fucking
man,
he fucking hung himself.
oh
And
damn, man,
uh, yeah, that's just kind of what
damn.
that's but that was my guy Aaron, and there was a lot of that too. There was a lot of that going on too. There was a lot of OD.
Man.
There was a lot of suicides that happened. Yeah.